Many thanks for joining us on Daybreak Naija Breakfast Show. This is the breakfast show of Universal Heritage Television, Naija. This morning we are going to be looking at a couple of issues. The first is the controversy about the purported Obi-Datti campaign cancel in Imo State. We're also going to be looking at the Atiku Wike face-off and the call for Ayu's resignation, the reactions that are trailing it. We're also going to look at the APC presidential aspirants who shunned their meeting in Abuja yesterday. And of course, we'll look at one or two other politically related issues to these ones we have mentioned here. This morning, I'm going to be co-presenting with Munachi Iwuna. Muna, first time on deck.
Yes.
So how do you feel?
I feel excited. I feel super happy to be here in the midst of erudite elites. So it's a pleasure.
Wonderful. All right, I have two people that are going to be analyzing with us this morning, and they are very, very eminently qualified personalities. Honorable Chief Angus O. Uzamaka. Chief Angus O. Uzamaka is the coordinator of the Labour Party support movement in the Southeast. You're welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I also have Comrade Humphrey Ngonye. Comrade Humphrey Ngonye is a public affairs analyst and commentator. Comrade, you're welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much, Mr.
All right, now let's look at the controversy about the purported Obi-Datti campaign cancel in Imo State. Something happened on the 12th of August here in Imo State. We saw one of the promoters of the National Consultative Forum, Professor Pat Otomi. He was in Imo State here, and everybody understood he was here to grace the occasion when the Rescue Nigeria project endorsed Mr. Peter Obi as their presidential candidates. And of course, they invited the Labour Party. They were all there. And the next day, there were news everywhere that Professor Pat Otomi did inaugurate purportedly a presidential campaign council. And our findings reveal that the state chairman of the party, Dr. Ambrose Onyekwere, was able to reach out to Professor Pat Otomi that same day when the information broke out. And Professor Pat Otomi, according to him, did respond to him via a text message wherein he said that it was a gross error that will be corrected. And ever since then, that campaign team headed by one Fabian Ihekweme has continued to push on. And we've had the national body, the national leadership of Labour Party has issued several write-ups or statements to the contrary, that a campaign council has not been constituted for Peter Obi, that there are procedures, that's to start from national and then watered down. But this team here in Imo, seem not to have listened to them. They are still going on with their activities. Let me start with the coordinator of Labour Party support movement. How do you see it as a member of Labour Party? How does this, appeal to you?
Yeah, thank you, moderator. You see, the issue of presidential campaign council, to the best of my understanding, and from various experience in terms of political, having had experience from various contestations, both in Imo and as a former National Treasurer, Allied Congress Party of Nigeria. And I was also a member, obviously, for the Presidential Campaign Council when he was running for presidency in 2019. As the National Treasurer of that party, I was also privy to everything that happened in the political party system. And do not forget that I was also a founding member of CPC that I ran in Mbeto local government then. That was a lower level. But at this national level, I'm from all relatively of experience in terms of forming a campaign council. An example was that, okay, when we wanted to form a campaign council, but that does not mean that one size fits all should apply. But then, from procedural perspectives in terms of integrity, decency, and then procedural rules and regulations guiding political party structure and leadership. One, if he is to form a campaign council, it will start from that leadership. For example, even if he's going to form a campaign council in Imo State, that should start from the chairmanship of Labour Party. Either then the zonal leadership, then few of the ESCOs. It's something that should be, should be a kind of a consensus, a kind of an agreement, coming from the top leadership, Ekelon, who recommends the southeastern zonal leadership of that party, who will call for a meeting of the chairmanship of that party, and he says, we are ready. And then do not forget that information of this, you need to investigate the very people and the antecedents. I'm not saying that Ihekweme is not good or whatever. I'm not saying, oh, why we did this man? Well, no. But the modus operandi in terms of formation of that council abruptly should not come in for that.
The process was
follow that all. And if you just on a wake up, maybe because of his relation with Ihekweme or whatever, yeah, it's be accepted. But then because he should have known him better, but without the privity of the chairman, the ESCO, and then some top leadership of Labour Party within the state angle. Do not forget that Labour Party now has come to be, and so many people, prominent people of personalities, from different categorization in terms of politics, in terms of economic, legal, and then popularity and followership and leadership, should constitute that Labour Campaign Council, that is presidential, senatorial, and whatever we call it. But then the presidential council in a very particular state, even at the national level, it is the same procedural perspective that forms it.
All right, let me come to Comrade Humphrey Buonye now. Comrade, the national leadership denied the council here in Imo State. And the council came up with a statement that said, theirs was an innovation, kind of experiment, experimenting, bringing an innovation to formation of campaign council. Maybe not go to one state, set it up, use it as a yardstick or a blueprint to run in other states. How does that sound to you? Is it a tenable one?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. You see, Labour Party, from its foundation, is a party that is groomed in discipline. Those in Labour Party are not just politicians. They are Labour leaders who have gone through the nitty-gritty of life and known the contributions of the Nigerian worker in the social, political, and economic development of the nation. And so, if you look at it, members of the Labour Party are not just money bags or the bourgeois. Everything is systematic. So, when it became very, very apparent that its time has come to redeem Nigeria, God sent a Messiah in the person of Peter Obi, who himself has a background of Labour. And he came into the Labour Party, seeing the foundation of the Labour Party sought their mandate. Even the man who had the ticket surrendered it to him. Because of what? His antecedents. Peter Obi never went ahead to sack the leadership of the party. He said, let us work together. The national chairman was there, and everybody. Even Professor Pat Utomi, who was holding ticket, gladly surrendered it to the glamour, to the admiration and appreciation of the generality of Nigerians. Since Peter Obi came into Labour and seeing the Labour manifesto, Labour constitution, and the Labour philosophy, everything is energized. Every volunteers are joining Labour Party. After looking at Labour Party for what it stands, everybody is happy. And I think based on that, the enthusiasm with which people are receiving the joining of Labour Party by Peter Obi may have been the reason the Presidential Campaign Council volunteered to do their job, forgetting that what they are doing is unprocedural.
That's the bottom line.
The bottom line.
Some procedure.
And they may not be faulted because the enthusiasm is uncontrollable. Just like Peter Obi has opened the eyes of Nigerians, telling them to take back their country. Peter Obi cannot even stop the movement. But then, since it is an organized party that wants to deviate from the old tradition of doing things anyhow, there has to be a system. The Fabian Ihekweme-led group that are propagating the present council may have been doing that out of genuine ignorance. See my word, genuine ignorance, not feigned. If the attention is drawn to it, oh look, gentlemen, we are doing a very good job, but hold on, you are putting the cart before the horse. Let us have the approval from the national leadership of the party. It will trickle down from the national to the south, to the south, to the southeast, to the state, to local government, to the world, even to the booth. They are doing a good job, but let there be an interlude for now, so that we do the right thing. In order for Nigerians not to say the same thing again in the other leprous parties that Labour is now doing.
Yeah, that is actually the bone of contention here, because we understand that when the campaign council visited the Labour Party leadership in Imo State, and the chairman of the party drew their attention to this development, which the chairman of that campaign council, Fabian Ihekweme, accepted that there were mistakes, and the state chairman told them to, hold on, and then go to Abuja and get things properly streamlined. But it does seem they didn't take that advice, and they continued with what they are doing, which is the reason why the second statement from the National Publicity Secretary of the party had to come up.
Yes.
And accusations of some smart moves being made against that committee. So, in the case that the committee is not yielding to such advice, I mean, what option is left with the party?
Should I?
Yeah, go on.
I think like my friend and colleague has said here, I think it's out of this overzealousness and desperation to achieve to an extent, but unprocedurally, like you had earlier said, that what I'm to my thinking, I think that has now will bring a bad breed into the political system of Labour Party if Ihekweme continues with what he's doing. Like you had earlier said, I still refer to what you had earlier said, that for him to do it, that could have been overzealousness, because overzealousness could also bring a negative effect on the campaign, within the state level. And if that is replicated in other places, it could have a negative impact, a kind of a negative multiplier effect in terms of, let me use economic term now, in terms of followership and then organizational structure and strategy. Because it's as if somebody wants to come and hijack a procedure that ought to have been streamlined, in much more perspective, and harmonious relationship with existing leadership not being carried along, and not having that, there is leadership, leadership and delegation and all that. When you've been appointed for something without that procedural arrangement and without this organigram, respect and all that, you can't just come and hijack a system and say, okay, I'm this and that. No, it doesn't work out well. And it's going to affect Labour. But I believe Labour Party has gone beyond that. And I believe has the party autonomy had accepted an error, then why would Ihekweme and his group continue to go ahead with that mandate, which is not, which has been erroneously faulted?
So when there's an erroneous foundation, it means you can't have a positive
definitely. So the best advice for him to withdraw automatically from that mandate, which had been faulted by the very person who appointed him, whatever, and the group, and for a streamlining and rearrangement of campaign structure, not only in Imo, in any other. I hope it should not be replicated in any other state of the federation, because this will bring a kind of acrimony within the party structure system.
Really,
Okay.
Is actually beginning to bring that acrimony you mentioned, because Ihe recently reacted to the statement by the National Publicity Secretary, and in his words, he said, "It is important to put the record straight at this stage to avoid widespread misconceptions and wrong notions. On behalf of the Imo State Presidential Campaign Council for Peter Obi-Datti, it is my singular honor to make the following clarifications with the view of strengthening our campaign and also to purge and disabuse the minds of our reading public on the false insinuations by a few detractors and disobedient elements who are direct beneficiaries of the current failed leadership and now trying to hide under the striking names of Peter Obi and Obi-Datti to advance their own selfish political interests and advantages." So with campaigns purported to start this September, do you think this issue arising now in the Labour Party would cause a negative impact on the party?
I think Ihe is misconstruing the very purpose of, I will be audacious to say that he is misconstruing the very purpose of achieving a very particular goal, which ought to be a unified arrangement between. Nobody is saying, "Oh, you should not be." Nobody is saying, "Oh, why are you the person?" No. The issue is, if he has made this statement, which you've quoted right now, are you now saying that the man who appointed you, maybe out of excitement and out of the zeal to say, "Okay, move ahead," has accepted the error, and you are now imposing yourself on the leadership of the party? The party is not saying that you should. The party is saying, "Come back home, come and rearrange with the people, with the leadership, and then reconstitute this campaign council for progress to be made." It is not his own capacity to begin to say this must be done because you've been given, the mandate without that constituted arrangement. We are all politicians who have run elections in various capacities. We know what it works. We've been at national level of political leadership. It is not about picking up a position. It's about achieving a result. When you have been given a political position and all other people are kicking against you, what do you achieve with that? The best bet is to come back home and then take that order from the leadership, and then things will work harmoniously. If they are reconstituting it, you pick it. If they are reconstituting, you rearrange positions for a better achievement of a result.
Let's look at from what you read here. There's a clause here where he said he referred to some failed politicians who have failed in other areas who have now come in to hijack the process here. One will also be wondering, because we know just a few months ago he was with the government of the APC in Imo State. Of course, he was a commissioner for foreign affairs, and then when the governor was reappointing, he did not reappoint him. And then he left the government, and at that time there was a stinker he wrote about the government at that time. So this definition is given, this criteria he has given here, does it not fit into it? Let me ask you, comrade.
Thank you.
Because you are a grassroots political watcher here in Imo State.
Thank you very much. Honestly, I started politics from a very grassroots as a councillor. Years back. And as a councillor, that's the most difficult election you can think of. That's policy of Obi-Datti. When you come back, people must tell you who you are, your background, your father, your mother, tell you your genealogy. So I did that 2 times and became councillor 2 times with INEC certificate. And during the period we were doing this, I had my leaders. We had the ward chairman, who is my Oga, so to say, the LJ chairman. We follow the party rules and regulations, the directives from top to bottom in descending order, and we follow it in ascending order. And then, from there to any level, even in this Labour Party, I've been in Labour Party since 2017, we know how we've been following. The bourgeois, the big parties, you don't have the whole everything. Their congresses, their primaries, and they throw about money. Labour Party, we're not thrown that groomed that way. We labor.
As the party of workers,
Or workers.
and laborers, the masses.
We don't make money, we earn money. There is a difference between making money and earning money. And from there we rose. Now, the bottom line of what we are saying is discipline. You must be disciplined. From the level, from the European height, wherever you are, you must be disciplined. If you are not disciplined, you cannot be a leader. If you watch Peter Obi, how disciplined he is. Humility personified. So, if anybody is working for Peter Obi and he doesn't see Peter Obi as a role model, I think I may be tempted to say that that person may be a mischief maker. So, now that position given to Ferdinand Kwame was given to him by somebody. A personality of Professor Patutomi standing. Patutomi is a household name in Nigeria. Everybody knows him as both an academic, an academician, and a philosopher, an intelligentsia. For him to have admitted that an error was committed is not wonderful. A humble man. He could have said, well, whether I made a mistake or not, let it be. But he said, like Peter Obi, there are times. He said, oh, it was an error. That should have sent a signal to Inauguration that he's no longer backing the wrong horse. And let me say it. He's not giving this position. The position he's taking now, what he's doing now means he's given an open check. That position is not an open check. He has to be controlled. But whosoever, the person that gave him the mandate has said that it was an error. And therefore, if he believes in the philosophy of Peter Obi, he should be disciplined and key up. And believe in the philosophy of doing what is right.
Let's now look at the Wike article face-off. Wike had a meeting with the presidential candidate of the PDP, Vice President Atiku Abubakar, in London. And feelers that came out from that meeting suggest that Wike demanded for the resignation of the national chairman of PDP, Dr. Ayocha Ayu. But it seems Ayocha Ayu is not receiving that demand with, with, how will I put it, with cool head. Because the man is already, spitting fire. He said, look, that Wike and Co are amateur, that they were babies when we formed PDP, that is not going to resign and all that. And Wike is out there in Port Harcourt spitting his own fire. Yesterday, he entertained Nigeria with his speech where he was singing in Igbo, popular song of Kamanga Mokanto Lema Owawunda Lema. And people were so amazed and saying, is he an Igbo man now? Because before now he has been denying he's not an Igbo man. So if he can be so melodious with Igbo songs that way, So, but let's look at the face of what do you see happening in PDP now?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Although I'm not a member of PDP, but I read a lot because I'm a prolific writer and versatile reader.
You're a social commentator, so yes. You're bound to read
voraciously I read, and I looked at the Wike's case with PDP. Let me tell you the truth in its naked form. Governor Nelson Wike shot himself in the leg. You see how he was angling to be the presidential candidate of PDP. Because of that ambition, he rubbished Uche Secondus by making sure he never emerged as the chairman of PDP. Secondus is from the same place with him.
But some will say he made Secondus also.
Yes.
To become the chairman of PDP.
So
he made him and unmade him.
Good. He, for his own selfish interest, he made him and unmade him to when he had the ambition of becoming the president candidate. When he knows that the PDP constitution stipulates that there must be a rotation between the north and the south. Now, the man who contested in 2019 was from the north. And this time he's supposed to come from the south. He now said, okay, let the chairman come from the north. He gave it to Iyocha Ayu, the moving secondaries, believing that the presidential candidate will come from the south. Now you know Atiku, the bourgeois and the money bag came, and the Bible says that money answered all things, and came and threw his money,
including presidential tickets,
and used dollar to lure everybody to jettison the rotational arrangement of the PDP, and the Northerner who just contested last time became the candidate of the party. As if that was not enough, we kept basking on the euphoria that based on what he has done for the PDP, both money and whatever he did,
he has really sustained the party.
Yes, that he was going to be picked as his running mate. Lo and behold, I think you see him as somebody he cannot control, decided to go for party, Ifeanyi Okowa. Then that's where the anger of Wike started. And because of that, Wike doesn't want to see anything again good in Atiku. And what is more, PDP was born and bred by the South, but given to the North on a platter. Now, Atiku calls the shot in PDP. And what can you say about it? It is said in Igbo parlance that Onyeji Igugu Nesu. And for that reason, Wike lost sympathy of most of the southern members of PDP. Because of what? His outbursts. At one time, he said, I'm not an Igbo. At another time, I'm saying this. All those people who you say they are not your people forsook you in time of need. And nobody's to blame. He's to blame. And now it has come, it is now dawned on him that the situation has become irreversible. It is one thing to set a monster. The monster, after setting it, after eating the victim, will do what? We come back to the man that set it up. That is my take.
Okay. Honorable Ambrose, let's have your take on this issue, because so many people are thinking that maybe there might be a reconciliation point. But it's not turning out that way. Instead, the rift is getting wider and wider. Do you think at a point there might be reconciliation, or do you see Wike eventually leaving the PDP? Maybe he may not actually resign as a member of the party, but maybe he might work against the party.
Considering his romance with Tinubu's camp, alleged romance with Tinubu's camp, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. The issue of PDP, Wike, Atiku, it's a case of, they're in Igbo land, they say, that is to say, if you break the pot of a fellow same married women, a marriage mate, you could break the pot today, but in the next few years, the grudge will not go. I'm responding in terms of reconciliation, which you threw a question. I will not go back to tell you about our history of being in PDP. When we started politics, started PDP and all that. But when a political party, the other day I was reading a PDP chieftain who was saying that Southeastern region was not in their calculation when they were doing their, in terms of is that
that is true. If you see how
we are not in their calculation, and you discover that this, you see. But let me be sometime, let me digress spiritually somehow, You see, the nemesis of injustice, the nemesis of nepotism, the nemesis of neglect rebounds at any point in time in one's life. Be it in your individual self, community, association, club, political party system. PDP Let me tell you, I'm a victim of PDP injustice in anything they do. I ran primary in Imbitolu twice. I came as a young man, accepted in my local government, but that PDP spirit of injustice is what is rebounding in every association they are creating for themselves. We are not saying that every PDP man is a demon, no. We are not saying that a political party is a demon, no. But they have created the demon within themselves and decided that injustice will reign within them. And everybody is covering his faces. Everybody is pretending. When you really knew, like when you were saying that this is a rotational system. And because you knew you had the oil money, you had everything going for you and all that, you can manipulate the system to undo your own brothers. In parentheses, let me say. To undo your own people, knowing fully well. I remember that Atiku was saying it. Northeast have not had. If you must... Remember that why Wike came up to say, I must be too, let us shrug it out. Okay, if Wike want to take the presidency, then I from the southeast, or northeast, we've not had it. Let me also vie for it. If southeast to be relegated, let me vie for it. That was the crux of Wike coming. Yes.
And they've had their slot.
But now they have shot themselves in the leg. Because I've been following on daily basis for the past. I follow politics on daily basis. I follow every night, every early morning. I follow up, because when you go follow up, you now know your decision making. But what PDP had, mistake they had made is this, or have made is this. It's like when you are solving algebra, mathematics, you manipulate and get to the result, and the lecturer teacher wants to reverse it. You know you can't reverse to correct it. Before you correct it to get the real answer again, you must have spoiled your book. We did all this, and in economics, where we are doing econometrics or whatever, when you are calculating, immediately you make that the coefficients and all that. Before you get to that level, you discover that when you are a calculator, or maybe when you are analyzing, you discover that you have made a whole lot of damage to your calculus. That is what PDP had made. So in reconciliation terms, you're asking Ayu to resign. Ayu has come there by statutory convention. So you want the man now to resign and violate the statutory convention that put him there, which is an impossible act. Atiku coming over to be the president, vying for presidency from Northeast, even though within their own agitation they are justified, but forgetting the Southeast, which by all parlance has been justified for all of you to support, and you decided to undo your own, another set of people. I mean, the nemesis of that will continue to haunt PDP, to my understanding. That is why that reconciliation, even though they reconcile, the grudge will put them aside.
Okay. All right, let's now look at the APC presidential aspirants. They were supposed to have a meeting yesterday in Abuja. In fact, it was actually convened by one of the aspirants, Mr. Felix. But unfortunately, they didn't show up. Most of them did not show up, and the meeting couldn't hold. It was put off. People are reading a lot of meanings into it. It doesn't mean they can't come together to support their candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. Or you see that they don't want somebody probably to leverage on their collective support, for his own glory, so to speak. In politics, people are always suspicious. People hardly trust people. Do you think they are thinking that the young man wants to use them to project himself, or probably they want to deal with Asiwaju, maybe at their own different levels? So, what's your perspective on that?
Yes, the third meeting of the aspirants is divine. The reason being that as it is now, the situation now in the country does not call for it. Everybody's consciousness has been aroused. The Nigerians are woken up from slumber. APC has lost value. People are no longer interested. If you look at the Peter Obi movement, it's now tsunami. It's quaking everywhere. Nobody wants to be identified as somebody that's anti this movement. Whether you like it or not, it is no longer centered on religious sentiments. It is now a movement that Nigerians are asking themselves, what has been wrong with us? That we have been left.
Things that haven't happened,
Yeah, so
politically are happening now.
Anybody going for such meeting will be seen as being leprous. Even those who are holding sway in APC now have known that the cow has given birth in a market square and there's no need hiding the uterus. Nobody. Even anywhere that meeting now, he says, is it Obi movement? I said, no, please, these people are no longer. It is something that is involuntary. You don't know when you are doing it. So that meeting can never hold. Even if you host, somebody's attitude towards that may be sinister. Maybe for personal interest, which may not go down well with even the presidential candidate. Even in a Senate climb, what is required of all these candidates from the other parties? It's for them to throw in the towel, because Nigerians have known that the truth is now laid bare. That is what I can say about it.
Okay. Juvangos.
Yes.
You have anything to say on that?
Yeah, not too much, because
The failed meeting of PDP PDC aspirants.
Yeah, candidate to aspirants.
Aspirants.
You have one candidate now.
Yeah.
Okay. What I will say is that, I mean, what are they converting? What are they meeting for? If because I know these are two strange bedfellows.
You don't see it as gathering of sense.
No, at all. These are two strange bedfellows, trying to come on an emergency meeting of no agenda. That's what I will refer it to, because that agenda is not a clear-cut agenda for Nigeria's growth and development in terms of, because they could have contemplated earlier enough, And like we were saying, in a saner society, where when you see injustice, when you see ugliness, you begin to actually say no. You throw in the towel, because your integrity and posterity matters a lot.
Yes.
And that is what is going for P2B today.
Yes.
And those who came behind him, and some of us who say, oh look, forming support groups here and there, trying to, you understand? Because this, in fact, I responded to a Twitter yesterday to McCarthy, who was talking about. His Excellency McCarthy, the former governor of Kaduna State. I responded through a Twitter. I said, look, what are you saying? It is the anger of the youths that is making them to follow Labour Party or P2B. That anger, if they take it in decision, it will spread to doom. And I responded, and others responded. I said, look, it is the anger of the failure. It's the anger of the prolonged, unrepentant failure, injustice meted against them, which has accumulated over the years, that has made it to have an informed decision to follow Labour Party for a greener pasture. So he should stop deceiving Nigerians.
Okay, there's a statement that caught my attention based on this meeting that was shown by APC aspirants. He said that part of the reason why this meeting was convened was to sort or to address a number of factors, such as a conciliatory move to reconcile aggrieved members. So do you think that part of the reason why these members, these aspirants, shunned this meeting was because they were aggrieved, or they have a grudge as to maybe losing the
aspiration.
The aspiration to
probably they don't want to reconcile.
Yes,
they don't want to be reconciled.
They describe this as a non-commitment on the part of the aspirants.
Okay, let me tell you. I will give you an example. From certain new places, you get the larger picture of certain things that That is why when you look at a blood sample, you can now the lab scientists and all that. When you take even any normal social science, there's a small sample actually will give you a larger picture of the population of what happened in that system. For example, when we were in PDP, I was once a facilitator of G27 in Imo State. I'll give you a smaller example in Imo State, where as at 2006 and 7, when we contested the election here, and most of us won that primary here and there from various local governments in Imo State. And what happened there was that we saw that we were all shortchanged. It was even, they went and overwrote the whole thing and then published the name of candidates in PDP. Then some people called me and we formed what we call G27. Then, I mean, if you can remember, and I was at the forefront. We were, you know, at the stage we created a kind of a reconciliation, really. Went to Wanya, Macom, Marcellus Lemebo, and all that, you know, Methodist, and a lot of leaders who met them. But we discovered
that was during the tenure of Governor Kedu.
Yes, definitely. When he just came in, you know, we are part of the thing that made him to come in. So, to speak, I'm just giving it a relative example to what is this issue that is happening right now. You see, when we try to do the reconciliation, they were just treating us like leper, you know, people who have just failed and failed. And I said, in fact, honestly, we did our best. Even when the court cases were coming for Ararume, we were all victims. We suffered hell. But that reconciliation, we tried to push it within ourselves. We reconciled. But to accept us wholeheartedly, having denied us, when they came to power, that denial continued. Now, at this national level, that's why it's good to give example of what has happened somewhere. Yeah. At this national level, even if they have reconciled,
there might be a replica of that.
There will still be a replica of
skirmishes.
Yes, they knew these things. That is why you see that thing couldn't, because they know the pride of I have all the money, I have bought all my way.
The winner takes it out.
Yes, that pride I have got all my way. I know the leadership, and then whatever you are doing now is nonsense.
Exactly.
That is what actually is playing down in this national. This party reconciliation.
Yeah.
That is why this thing could not hold. The best bet for them is to join a moving train and then leave those places we are going to make it. Go to join the moving train, and probably possibly, because by God's special grace, I believe that Labour Party with the P2B, that mantra, and the need to take back Nigeria. They should join this queue so that Nigeria will become a better place for everybody to live.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for today. Muna, it's been interesting. I'm sure you now know.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I've come to understand a lot that I was unable to understand previously. It's been a pleasure being here today.
They've given you some level of political education.
Exactly.
We come to the end of the program today. Dear viewer, I'm sure you've enjoyed the program, and we are going to be signing off now. So I want to thank our guest this morning who came to analyze with us, Honorable Chief Angus O. Uzamaka, Coordinator, Labour Party Support Movement in the Southeast. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you, moderator.
I also want to thank Comrade Humphrey Ngonye, a public affairs analyst. Comrade, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and my co-presenter here, Munachi Iwuna. Muna, say bye to our listener, to our viewer.
Thank you for being with us today. Bye-bye, and until we see you next time.
Okay, I'm Akobidimma, your host, and we'll be back tomorrow for another edition of the program. Till that time, I say bye-bye.